Hello and welcome to Let's Play Battlefield 1942. On today's episode, we return to the island of Iwo Jima. On the last Iwo Jima episode, I played as the Allies, so this time around we're going to be playing as the Japanese on defense. The Japanese have a number of control points, including the Mount Suribachi, and apparently I'm not going to be on the Axis side. So I'm going to spawn here at the battleship and see if I can take it out for a spin. Alright, so here we are on the battleship, and on today's episode we're going to have a special treat for you guys because I know there were those of you who wanted to see me control ships. Now the first thing that you should know about the battleships is that they've got two large sets of cannons which are very difficult to aim, and you just kind of have to do a little bit of trial and error. In the distance there's the death gun that's firing at me, and it's dead, so that was the trial on the first one, and then the error on the first, and then the successful trial on the second one. No, actually that was just dumb luck there. But the way I like to do this, and the Americans have already captured Mount Suribachi. Sometimes that happens at the beginning, especially if you've got paratroopers who just kind of jump out of one of the planes and take it pretty much undefended. But the way I like to do the battleship, even though it's it starts off on the other side of the island and it could be turned around or you could go in reverse to head over to the landing beach, I like to park it up north over toward the neck of the island between the airfield and the mountain. And the reason for that is that the battleship spawns a bunch of landing craft, infinite landing craft, just like the destroyer does. So you can serve as an invasion platform for the rest of your team. You've just got a convenient spawn point over there. Looks like I just nailed one of the Japanese spawn points. There are two different spawn points that we're really going to be aiming at here. If you recall from the previous Iwo Jima episode, there were two control points that were really close together. They were kind of nondescript. They didn't spawn any vehicles. And the primary action on this map seems to take place over there, particularly if each side holds one of the two flags. But it's convenient for the battleship to aim because you can potentially send your cannon shots right into the spawn point that's closer to the airfield, and it goes right in through the bunker, and that's how I got the triple kill earlier on in the episode. And the one that I just hit just now was the other point. The battleship, as you can see, has anti-aircraft cannons. These are a little bit different from anything else, and I just knocked out one of the planes. They work a lot like the flak guns, but they're a little bit different. They seem to aim differently. And there's two sets of those as well on the battleship. Now I've kind of settled into a little pattern here. It looks like the Japanese still hold on to the two flags I'd like us to get. But basically, when you're commanding the battleship, the Germans, of course, the Japanese have no ships on this. They're just going to attack us with their planes and their def guns. They should have two, maybe three different def gun cannons that can hit us. And those are going to be our only real threats. So basically the captain of the ship just kind of sits back. Maybe you move the ship around later on if you want to move on to some other points. Most likely, if the Americans are so well entrenched in those two middle points that I want to move on, then we're in really good shape. Most likely there's going to be some back and forth. Alright, I've seen a cannon shot go across. That's one of the def guns, and it's dead. The destroyers even have a really good, really easy time destroying def guns, but the battleships even more so because I think each set of cannons has like a double set, maybe twice as many as the destroyer does. Makes them more difficult to concentrate your fire in one precise location, but it gives you a decent spread, so it makes it easier to hit a target. My philosophy when aiming these guns is I really like to, after I get a kill or a double kill certainly, I like to take at least one more shot in the exact same aiming position, because it's likely that if you hit one guy, you're aimed on something properly, most likely. Could be someone happened to run into your field of fire, but it's just you can't really get a good close-up look. There's no way to really zoom in. Sometimes a sniper will help you out by doing the little binocular view. And here's the second set of cannon. If no one else is on the battleship, you can quickly switch back and forth between the two different sets of cannon. And while one recharges, you can switch to the other one, fire it, and then immediately switch back. The first one will be done recharging, so you just go back and forth really quickly. And you can keep up a good pace of fire. If you look at that little icon there where it shows the recharge rate, there's no limit to the number of cannon shells. There's no number next to the shell, and even if there were, there's a little ammo crate next to the gun, which is why you're always going to see that little ammo icon. I think one of the planes that flew overhead had someone jump out of the plane and parachute down, so I think there's an enemy actually on board the ship. But the enemy can't really do anything. Even on aircraft carriers, the enemies can't use the flak guns, and there's certainly nothing that the enemies can use here. And on the destroyers, by the way, the destroyers which have those two mounted machine guns that are difficult to access, the enemies can't even go up and use that. So the enemies, they can't steal boats except for the really small versions of the landing craft and patrol boats. Once again, that def gun's been silenced, although it seemed to have gotten a shot right as I was destroying it. And there's one of the guys on a landing craft I haven't seen anyone else make use of one of those to attack these points, but as time goes on, people, they always see those spawn points on their respawn map, so if they feel like it, they can go after those flags. It's also just a convenient thing because the Japanese really don't expect or plan for people attacking via landing craft from this angle. And that's another reason why I like to have the battleship parked up on this side, is because there's nothing really else that the Allies can do over here. So adding that spawn position is really convenient. That other def gun is active, and I couldn't reach it with the first set of cannon, and I guess the guy who was on the battleship earlier using the second set of cannon is gone. So those def guns are really easily destroyed by friendly planes as well as bazookas, and you can even eliminate them with 3 grenades. So basically any infantry who gets close enough to a def gun can destroy it. The def guns are really more of a threat to the destroyer ships as opposed to the battleships, because the destroyers have far fewer hit points, and I think they're also less likely to have people repairing the ship. You have to be kind of careful when you're attacking an enemy flag that you've got friendly infantry around attacking. Stay tuned for part 2.